What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Cinema Wave podcast. Today we are covering Edgar Wright's take on the Stephen King novel, The Running Man, with Glen Powell. And I'm one of your hosts today. My name is Zach Miller, and I am here with my other co-host, Vinny Albano.
Hello.
All right, man. Let's get into it, because this movie, it was it was around for a while. Like, it was being marketed around. Edgar Wright was involved. This was something that I think people were pretty interested in seeing because of Edgar Wright. And I don't know how you feel about Edgar Wright, but I've been a fan of his work for a very long time. He's just somebody that really adds to action comedy. He really adds to the flavor of and the appeal of action comedy. It's just something that you can go in with a fresh set of eyes and walk out very entertained with a lot of his work. So The Running Man is a remake and a reboot of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that was in the 80s and 90s, I believe. And it's not a story that I was like running to the theater to see, but yeah. I think it was really just that it was Edgar Wright that I was interested in seeing it. Otherwise, I think I would have passed on this movie. But what was your interpretation seeing this advertised? Was it interesting to you? Was Edgar Wright interesting to you? And then how did you feel about Glen Powell being the leading man in this movie?
Yeah, so to be honest, actually, prior to my screening, I went in fairly blind. I've heard of the original. Mm-hmm. I didn't know this was a remake up until we just started recording. So I had no idea that this was the remake of the original film with Arnold. I didn't know that both films were adapted from a Stephen King novel. I didn't really see a trailer for this either. I just heard Edgar Wright and I was like, okay, I might as well see him. I also have a weird relationship with Edgar Wright because I feel like the hype behind him as an auteur has died down a lot. He's only had Baby Driver 2017, and then he's only had Last Night in Soho in 2021. But I fear that after Last Night in Soho, a lot of his name recognition just started kind of dwindle away. He wasn't in the zeitgeist anymore.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing a lot of mixed reviews for that film. But long story short, I just feel like I haven't been connected to Edgar Wright in a while, but I wanted to revisit those charm that I found in Shaun of the Dead and Baby Driver. That was my hope going into this. I didn't get that, to be honest. But yeah, that might overexceed your question.
No, I think that's actually like very on the nose and similar to how I felt too, because this was like, I would say like his most studio type movie. Like it just feels very separate and diluted from his original style. And like you look at a movie like Shaun of the Dead and you look at a movie like Hot Fuzz, even like those are buddy comedies and action comedies and like a zombie comedy. And it's very, you feel like his pacing with the edit, and that's something that was, I think, last left in Baby Driver. It didn't really carry over to Last Night in Soho because it was more of a noir feel and a mystery feel. So he took a nice pivot into a different genre. So I was excited to see him do that for what it was, but I kind of wanted him to come back into his own shoes. And like, this guy kind of owns the action comedy genre, at least in the 2000s and on, in my mind. Like, Darren and I were looking up other directors before this, and the only other prominent action comedy director that is like actually trying to continuously put things out is Guy Ritchie. And then you even have work from like Matthew Vaughn, Sean Levy, Shane Black. There's a lot of other people that are trying to do swings at it, but for some reason it's really like Guy Ritchie and Edgar Wright that have almost singularly leaned into the action comedy side. So that's why it was exciting to see him do Last Night in Soho. It was a little different. But so when I'm hearing about Running Man and they're advertising it as this very explosive dystopian drama with flair for the dramatic and lots of good things for Edgar Wright to stylize and heighten. I was let down a little bit. I
Yeah.
just felt like, maybe it's because it's a Stephen King novel. The studio had expectations that they needed the story to be, or it was just like, I don't know. It's really hard to tell. I don't think it's like Edgar Wright has lost his sensibility for action comedy. I think it was just maybe like a big film and there's studio input that maybe he was not super into. Maybe it's the scope of the film. It's a pretty expensive movie. It has to make, I think, $220 million so it can, make back the budget of the film and the marketing. So I think
Yeah.
it's something that is bigger than he's tackled before in the past, to my knowledge, and it might be like on par with like Scott Pilgrim with like one of his more expensive movies. But it's hard to tell what went wrong with this movie. It just felt like it didn't have the same pulse that Edgar Wright has.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect way to put it, to be honest, because feels very diluted by something. It might be the studio, it might be something else, but it doesn't have the same magic
Mm-hmm.
that I know you mentioned Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which I completely forgot that he did, which is crazy because I love that movie. Um, but it's a very odd film for me because it's also trying to tackle a lot of these huge themes on a very on the nose manner. But in a way, I feel like it says not that it says nothing, but it's saying a lot, but it doesn't feel like it has like the actual emotion behind it. It feels like it's a person pretending to care.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it has a real rage towards the system.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's my biggest problem. With the conclusion of the film.
Yeah, I think it's also maybe we're feeling a little bit of fatigue from these dystopian dramas too. Like everything that's in it. I mean, even parts of the game setup, and then the Coleman Domingo character, who's the game show host, is very Hunger Games. Like that's almost very. I think Running Man was well before Hunger Games when it was written and Hunger Games was written, but it's really just like hard to get into a very similar story. You have a big corporation running the lower class into the ground, manipulating them however they see fit, and then they're putting people in these like Coliseum scenarios where they can pit them to their death, and then they can use them as entertainment. So that's like Maze Runner, Divergent, Hunger Games. There's so many lately, and that's all within like 15 years that we've gotten like, how many Hunger Games movies, how many other ones. Like it's sequels, franchises, that kind of thing. So maybe people just saw this advertised and they were like, it's nothing new necessarily. And I felt like the story was also really nothing new. It was just kind of like, okay, this very average guy has these extraordinary abilities that he learns how to do throughout the movie, trying to topple the system almost unintentionally. The reluctant protagonist, he's like, I guess I'll do it, and then he ends up being the example to lead people and rebel and that kind of thing. And that's like, we've seen that before, and not even just in sci-fi. So I think it's like a very regurgitated plot line. But it's a problem, I think, when you have somebody so sharp with his head and his edit, like Edgar Wright. So I don't like we're saying, I don't know where they went wrong with the disconnect there, but
and that's the thing, right? With the subject matter, it is regurgitated. It's done before. Then again, those are some of my favorite stories. Like revolutionary stories and all the above, dystopians where we see the essence of America become taken into a height of terrible nature.
Yeah.
Right? But I think of a recent show, an anime, Cyberpunk Edge Runners,
Hmm.
which in the cyberpunk world is also a very like anti-capitalist, anti like controlling the media, rebellious story in a cyberpunk setting. It's dystopian. Everyone is super poor to the point where like the people at the top have all the money, and then the people like David in Cyberpunk can't even afford um, his mom's burial or cremation. So he gets his mom's ashes out of a vending machine, literally.
Okay.
So like stuff like that, right? But
Yeah.
the thing about why I bring up Edge Runners is when I was watching this movie, I was thinking about that and how Edge Runners is so magical, and it takes something like that regurgitated concept and it adds something new, right? It adds characters that are like so nuanced and so refreshing to watch, and it's so colorful and all the above, right? In almost every aspect you have. But here I 100% agree. It's just like they took the template, but they didn't want to change anything else with the template. And
Yeah, they just needed something familiar, I think, to get people in the seats, and then I think that's where it lost me. But I want to ask you too about Glenn Powell. So he's had movies like Hitman. He just did the rom-com with Sid Sweeney, Anyone But You. He was in Top Gun Maverick. He's building a career for himself. My question for you, because I didn't hate him in this movie. I thought he was very similar to a lot of his other performances. I think he brings a better intensity in this movie though than some of his other performances. But do you think that Glenn Powell is like this is his lane of genres that he should stick to? Do you think that he could be someone like a Bruce Willis that is like starting in comedy or starting in action and start like this is action comedy or he's action and he is like the charming everyman? Or he's not, I don't know, he's kind of like a James Bond type, but he's not as sophisticated in some of these roles and stuff. But do you think that he could be a like Bruce Willis type of action star or something?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's jacked. He's a very handsome guy. That already kind of checks the boxes at that point. Like, you don't even need like acting experience. You're already like, you're beautiful. Okay, you know what I mean. You'll get roles no matter. I do enjoy him though. Like, I do. I like that energy. He has this like very youthful. I don't know how old the guy is, but he seems very youthful and like I love that energy, right? I haven't seen Anything But You or anything
Anyone But You.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I from the trailers I got that same energy of like that very charming, witty, youthful type of like handsome guy. Totally, I think he could become an action hero. I don't think he could become an action hero maybe on like something like Arnold's level or like Sylvester Stallone, where it's these like brooding, like super masculine, right? But he could play in that. I think Bruce Willis is honestly a perfect comparison. I do want to see Glenn tackle something with more nuance. I would love to see Glenn Powell play like a character, almost like a character from Mad Men, like a suave, manipulative businessman of some sort. I feel like he would fit that.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I think he could do something like John Hamm, or if he did something reverse, because I actually feel like John Hamm is doing like he's doing the Neighbor Show. Oh my God, it's on Apple TV. I think it's Your Friends and Neighbors, but it's another good show. He's got that charm and wit, and it's like kind of like Glenn Powell, but I think like he's a better actor, obviously. But Glenn Powell, like he just has, I think he has a couple of good lanes that he could go with his career. He doesn't have to be a Robert Pattinson or a Timothy Chalamet even to be this like crazy artistic expressionist like actor. He doesn't have to go down that hole unless he wants to. I just think he's gonna have to take more time to transform into that before he gets there. Because right now I just see him as the humor, the charming heartthrob, like that's his lane where he's at. So whatever genre that falls under the umbrella, he can definitely fit into. So I think it's hard to define with his career because he's kind of had this like explosive last like 5 years. Like he was very smaller, like up and coming, and then now he's like been on the map like almost through 2 to 3 projects like a year now in the last like 5 years. So it's hard to tell what his career decisions are going to be, but there's a lot like left in store, I think. But what was it like? We talked about Glen Powell. Who do you think like was your favorite character in the ensemble in this movie aside from Glenn? And like for me, it was Coleman Domingo. I really liked Coleman Domingo.
No, I 100% agree. Yeah. I feel that, again, going back to a whole that it definitely is a template film. Yeah, it doesn't stray away from its template. So characters like Josh Brolin's character feels really flat to me. For an actor of such caliber as Josh Brolin. Yeah. Coleman Domingo was fun though. I like to. He's just great in everything, So it's hard to go wrong. I agree. I think he's probably the best part aside from Glenn. Yeah. I would say that the woman who plays Glenn's wife.
Let me pull it up real quick.
I wanted to see more of her. Yeah. Because I feel that she could deliver a lot of heart, and with the little time that she was given, there was a lot of heart there. Yeah. I feel like if she had more time, I would say her. But for now, Coleman Domingo took the show.
Alyssa Ben, I believe. There's no picture on her IMDb right now, but so I believe that was the actress. But yeah, I thought she was good. I felt like she was underutilized a little bit. I don't know the book story of The Running Man, but there were a lot of characters that were used to fulfill like a 20-minute purpose, and then they were on to the next person, especially with William H. Macy, which I felt like I think he was undervalued in this movie. Coleman Domingo was in a lot of it, so I'm happy they used him. Michael Cera was undervalued, I think.
Oh, I forgot. Dude, that's crazy. I just saw the film and I forgot he was in it.
And there you go. Like that's another like example. Like his part too was in the trailer, and I felt like his sequence was the most Edgar Wright sequence of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Like there was the funny escape routes. There was the water gun, which is in the trailer. So I think if they didn't show that in the trailer, I would have enjoyed that part a lot more. But there was Michael Cera has that nice like dry humor still from Scott Pilgrim. Like he's got that oh my god, Jesus Christ, what's his name from Shaun of the Dead, the actor from Jesus Christ.
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm totally blanking on everything tonight. Jesus. How did I forget that? Simon Pegg has that too. He's just like very deadpan in Shaun of the Dead. He's like, go to the pub, gotta save dad, kill the zombies. Like he doesn't need energy in some of those things. He's just very expressive. He's very sharp with his dialogue. And I also felt like that was kind of lacking from this for an Edgar Wright movie. Like the buddy comedy side was missing the buddy comedy part. Like it was missing some of that tone, and I think it was because it was focusing more on the action, because it's just him on the run from all these explosions and murders and society and things that are happening to him. So
yeah. And sorry, were you gonna?
No. I was out.
I just wanted to add to that because I do. It's a shame because in my opinion, I don't know about you, I didn't laugh once. There is humor in the film, which it's fine. But I wasn't. It's nothing like Shaun of the Dead. It's nothing like Scott Pilgrim even, right? Where it's like really really funny shit. Yeah. However, I feel that I've kind of shied on this film a little too much because the action sequences, as you said,
Mm.
the action sequences are really great. I
Yeah.
love the set pieces. I do have this problem though with a lot of these studio action piece films where they go they have like these super big set pieces
Yeah.
at the beginning or the end of the first act and then like the midpoint, and then like the last climactic sequences is always like a really like confined space, like 1v1, right?
Yeah.
I this is not it's not really a flaw with this film because it's fine that films do that. They should just swap it.
Mhm.
Like have that be the midpoint and then have the movie end with like a fucking huge like the whole
Yeah.
TVA explosion set piece,
Yeah.
or even the Michael Cera house set piece where it's like all these intricate shit
Yeah.
going on,
Mhm.
and they're going from like going up level by level to the house, sliding down the pole to the
Yeah.
basement, going down even further into the cave system down below. Like that, I like I feel like more of these studio action films should be ending on a
Yeah.
crazy note like that.
Mhm.
But regardless, I do love the set pieces here, and they're so chaotic, and
Mhm.
I love who doesn't like explosions, you know?
Yeah.
So,
You know what? I not that they really needed it, but because they're also talking about the United States in a futuristic timeline, I almost would have appreciated some form of explanation of like how we got to this point. Like we saw Arnold Schwarzenegger on the dollar bill. Like that, I just thought that was a nice little nod to the original. But
yeah.
there was just some stuff I was like, how did this become a police state? Or like how is everyone's still like, even people on the street, how are they grappling with more of this authority and being surveillance like all the time? And there's just a lot of dystopia around them, so it just seems like people are stuck in this position. And a lot of people just seemed like unfazed by it. I don't know. And then there was just kind of a swift rebellion in the end. So that's where I felt like it didn't have to be a like, let's start a rebellion and overthrow the system type of thing. I think it was just like, it could have been a singular event with just this one guy. Like he is winning the game, but then it could have left it open to like a cliffhanger of like what's gonna happen. And it kind of was a cliffhanger, but it was like, I don't know, maybe they just handled it a little too much. But I do agree with you. I have also shit on the movie a little bit too much, but like I won't do my man Edgar like that. But there's not like so many problems with this movie where it's a bad movie. I think it's still entertaining. I think it's just when you compare, like, it's kind of like how we've had discussions about where Wes Anderson's at now in his career. It's kind of like, oh, we know Wes at his best, we know Edgar at his best. This was probably not his best, and we know a lot of his techniques and how he does things to get there. And so a lot of this stuff, it just wasn't hitting that. So that's kind of like some of the disappointment for me. But other than that, like, it's really not a bad movie. It's not going to crack my top 10 of the year, but it's still like, worth the watch. Glenn Powell is okay in the movie for me. Like, he's an okay grade.
I will. Okay, so I agree but disagree with the last point you made.
Gotcha.
About exposition needed to get to that point of where we are in this futuristic dystopia America. I agree with the aspect of I wanted to see more insight from the lower class, right? And because they are a pivotal part of this of the story of the world, right? We see that the lower class bonds and connects to a revolutionary figure like Richards, and we get no insight from them apart from the fact that they like that, right? So I agree with you on that. I disagree that we needed explanation to understand why we got to this point, because I just feel that I feel like it's already answered
Yeah.
because it is just like America,
Yeah.
but if we just kept going without regulation.
Yeah.
And I
true.
think that's what it is. It's like, you know, when what we're seeing now, right, with, funny enough, who made this film,
like
Paramount.
media too and
Well,
control.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say, like, who made this film? Paramount. Oh, Paramount's gonna buy Warner Brothers. That's like the whole like debate right now. If they're gonna buy Warner Brothers, and then if that happens, like all these mergings, and then what happens? Eventually, every media source is gonna be one company, and everything is privatized. And yeah, not to get too political, but you know what I mean. Like,
it's easy to censor. It's easy to manipulate.
Yeah, and it already is. You know, it already is. But I do agree with like the insight of the lower class, because if you want to make a film, you know, because it is a political story at the end of the day, the foundation is political, but you can't, they don't want to humanize the lower class. They don't want to, right? We have Glenn Powell, who's like the perfect, handsome, charming man.
Yeah.
But like Glenn Powell is not the average lower class civilian. And we have no humanization of what the other people think. I think that's what really irks me. Of like, that's what I mean of, they're trying to tell a revolutionary story without the real rage and anger and the real passion that goes into actually caring about these issues.
Yeah. You know, I want to amend my statement too.
Yeah.
I agree with the like, okay, we don't need to see every detail of like how did America get here. I do. There was the one detail with the blacklist employment and that kind of thing, which I thought was pretty interesting. So that's why he has to go on the show to earn money for his family. So I was like, oh, that's a cool way to like almost you're almost telling people like they're in prison because they can't, you know, go get work. They can't be members of society and function. So what are they supposed to do? Like, are they going to become vagrants? Are they going to become you know, like criminals themselves? Like what does society expect them to do? I just felt like they kind of cliche like dropped it on us with Glen Powell, and he has like his coughing daughter, and like she's sick, and it's just like, oh, I should feel bad for them because she's sick, like, oh, he needs money, like that kind of thing. It just felt like a crutch for him. And for the story, I don't know if that's how it unravels in the book, but it's there was like some details I wish that they were integrating into the story a little better. The lower class people we do interact with are kind of just tools to service his escape, or they're like gonna turn on him, because I like that detail, as well as like some of these civilians are gonna try and earn money themselves because they're desperate. But it's the desperation, and like if the bread and butter is political thriller, lower class versus upper class, there I think there has to be a little bit more crossover and that kind of thing, instead of just him on the run from these people. Because even like Blade Runner, you don't have to be caught up to speed with like, oh, I needed to know what happened from LA now to LA like this time, but you understand the same thing. There is a takeover, there was a big corporation, things are not good now, there's a police force. That's like a general understanding, and then they're hunting androids and that kind of thing, and then you can still enjoy the movie, so you don't have to get every single detail. But it's for some, when it was like, okay, this guy's a surrogate to topple the system, I think it's just cross it over a little bit more. And I think that's why people liked Hunger Games a little bit, is because they were like, this is someone who didn't ask for this, and then she took up the mantle to be, you know, the leader of the rebellion, because she manipulated her position in a broadcast to topple a system over the 3 movies, basically. So it was like, that was cool, that was compelling, and it was a longer arc. But maybe it's also just now, like we were saying, like maybe it's just happened too many times. But Yeah, I don't think it was bad. I think that the writing was really okay. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was based off of a book. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
fun. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, I have no other thoughts aside from
Mhm.
it was a fun movie.
Right.
It was a fun movie.
Yeah.
Am I gonna remember it 10, 5, 10 years from now?
Yeah.
Probably. I'm not gonna remember it in great detail, but
Yeah.
I'll remember. Oh yeah, I guess that was a little fun little thriller.
Yeah.
Fun little thing we were going on.
Yeah.
When we're running. Right. So, yeah, that's all. That's all for me.
I have one more question for you to
Yeah.
end on, but action comedy to me is like kind of about to hit a plateau if we don't have a lot of like quality movies and
Oh, yeah.
sensible people like keep that going. And I feel like it's dwindling out a little bit. Like a lot of people have moved away from westerns. I feel like this genre is also starting to hit a wall with saturation of superhero stuff. Even integrating it into superhero stuff, people are like, I just want to go see that. I don't want to see this.
Yeah.
So they,
Yeah.
they want to take less chances on these kind of movies. They want to go to something that they know. But where do you think that action comedy is going? And like I was even watching Fall Guy last year. I watched that movie Argyle last year. Guy Ritchie had ungentlemanly warfare. Like there are things that are coming out. I don't think they're putting people in the seats as much, and
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many factors for that, but where do you see action comedy like needs to go or to keep people invested in it?
That's actually a really good question because all three films you mentioned, I did not see,
Okay.
and I'm pretty sure they all underperformed.
I think so.
And
Yeah.
it like financially and critically.
Mm-hmm.
I think my solution is we need a new voice. Like
Mhm.
I get it. I like Guy Ritchie. I like Matthew Vaughn. I like Edgar Wright. Who did the Fall Guy? I forget. Was that Sean Levy? Or
David
David
Leitch. We
Yeah,
went to our
oh.
producer.
Yeah, thank you.
Phoned our
And
producer.
he did Atomic Blondes.
Mm-hmm.
I
right.
like these guys,
Yeah.
but we should have a new voice, a new auteur.
Yeah.
Let some young man or woman like take the mantle.
Mhm.
You know what I mean, and bring us something fresh.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what we need.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we need those things because like I'm even thinking about Edgar Wright's career, and he had smaller movies. Like he had like I mean even Shaun of the Dead and Scott Pilgrim was bigger, but Hot Fuzz was like no one expected that to be the hit that it is. You know, like it was just another buddy comedy. Snatch was early on for Guy Ritchie.
Yeah.
And that's like had a cult following now. That's something that I wasn't old enough to see, but you know, it was it's something that has stuck around because of its style. So I think there just has to be studios have to take a little bit more risks on that kind of thing. But I also maybe there's just a trendy couple genres that people are leaning into more. Like A24 has opened the door for to me the young voices have gravitated towards those types of stories where they're personal, they're human, they're mostly drama, I think. And those are things that you could kind of make with like 15 to like $30 million or something.
Yeah.
Action comedies nowadays are probably really expensive. So maybe that's also a big factor. But yeah, it's a really, it might be something that will become more prevalent when we study it over the next couple of years. So maybe we'll like circle back to that kind of conversation in a little bit. But I think this is a nice addition to it. Edgar Wright, you know, if you're listening to this podcast, I hope there's a couple doors open to young filmmakers like that when doors were open for him. I think that, you know, if that generation can pass the torch on to new people, that would be really cool. But
no, I 100% agree.
Yeah, I think that's honestly all that I have for the film. But let's talk about ratings. So what's your rating?
I'm gonna give this a solid 5 out of 10.
Okay,
Solid 5.
Got you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna argue that. I originally had this at a 7 on Letterboxd, and I think after talking about it more, I think it's like a 6 now.
Yeah.
So I think it's like it's just something that, like you were saying, I won't really remember too much from this compared to his other work. So I think that's where I'm gonna land.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Alrighty.
I think that's it. But thank you guys for tuning into this review. We have a lot more content coming your way. Awards season is upon us, and we are covering a lot of festival heavy hitters. There's a lot of Oscar buzz happening right now. Tom Cruise just got an honorary Oscar last night at the Governor Awards, so we're excited to talk about Oscars coming up. I mean, that's the heat of our season for us. So be sure to stay tuned. Subscribe to us below. All of our content is coming to you on the Cinema Wave page on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. So be sure to stay tuned for more. We have a lot of other movies and TV shows that we're covering. We're covering Pluribus. We're covering just so many different things that I can't even keep track of. But there's a lot of awards movies that we've covered already, and then things that are coming up. So we're really excited to bring that to you guys. Just signing off. My name is Zach Miller.
And I'm Vinny Albano.
And we'll see you next time.
This is The Culture.